Hello and welcome to this little tutorial. I recently picked up a TR-09. It's a fantastic little piece of machinery that emulates the legendary sound of the original Roland TR-909, and I'm just going to make a little guide on how to use this thing, because it may confuse you. If you don't sort of understand the premise behind why this is such a controversial piece of equipment, or rather the 909 is, then there's plenty of reasons for it. It is easily one of the biggest players in the sound of house. It was unanimously used in acid house, techno, and all that sort of stuff. But before I go blabbing on about random shit that you don't need to know about, this is just going to be a little tutorial on how to use it. So first of all, if you've got your unit plugged in, you can just flip it on using the switch located on the right hand side of the back of the unit. So it should take a little while to boot up. First of all, you'll be in track play mode, which will be virtually useless for writing, but it will be good for demonstrating how all these knobs up here work. So that's what I'm going to do first. So first of all, we have the bass drum, also known as a kick. Now, this can be tuned using the tune function, which essentially just changes the pitch of the initial hit of the bass drum. So that's 0 tune. I'll take off some attack just so you can sort of hear the difference. And then maximum tune. It adds a little bit of a thump to it. Adding attack also adds a slight pop to the start of it, which can help to back up that initial thump. So that's what I like using for making house kits with this. You also have the level, obviously, that controls how loud it is. And as well as that, you have decay, which controls how long the tail end of the waveform is. Don't know if you can hear that, but basically that just sort of shows how much of a tail you get for the bass drum. Now the snare drum, you've got a few different sort of controls, but some of them are basically just renames of controls that we've already seen in the bass drum. So the snare, we have tune, which changes the pitch of it. Won't be so noticeable. Unfortunately, my computer's being a bitch at the moment and it won't take input from the TR-09. But this should sort of give a slight example to it. You also have level. Again, just a little demonstration of tune just to see if that works. You also have tone, which sort of indicates how sort of soft or loud the waveform will be. It's also technically just another name for decay. Snappy controls how sort of noisy the end of the snare is. Now, don't be mistaken, you cannot use the snare as a sort of secondary bass drum. You can use it as a secondary rim shot with more tuning options. But yeah, the snare just is a little too high pitch to be used for a bass drum. Now, toms, you have the low tom, the mid tom, and the high tom. Toms all have pitch tuners. And they also come with decay. It's a little bit better an example, and this applies for all of them. Now, next we have the rim shot, which you only have a level control for, but if you go into the menu, which I'll show in another video, You can also control a few other things about it. Same applies for the clap. You have your hi-hats, your close, which has decay as an option. And then if you press 13 and 14 together, you get the open hi-hat. You have your cymbals as well, your crash. That's a very recognizable sound of the TR-09 and the TR-909. And as well as that, you have your ride cymbals. Both of these have a tune which essentially just changes the pitch. And yeah, that just about does it for tuning controls. So basically, these are made to be played around with. All you need to do is just sort of have some fun with them, see what sounds good, see what doesn't, and it's honestly up to you. So now I'll show you how to write a track. So just as an example, we're currently in track play mode. So to get into pattern play mode, you can press any one of these three pattern play buttons here. I'm selecting 3 because that's my current empty bank. I've already got a few patterns that I want to keep in 1 and 2. But 3, if I'm not mistaken, we should have something sitting in there already. That's the beat for Revolution 909, which I will show you in this tutorial, because it makes sense. So if you want to write a pattern, you press Shift, which is this key just here, and then you press whatever pattern you're using. You can also use this to cycle through the banks. So you have bank 1 and bank 2. Whichever one you're in is indicated by the key being lit. So now that we've selected pattern set 3, you have 16 patterns, which is each one of these keys on the sequencer. And to edit a pattern, what you can do, excuse my brother doing dumb shit, if you want to clear the pattern, what you can do is make sure that the machine has stopped, press and hold the clear button, and then press 1. My brother's clearly celebrating about something. I excuse that, but I can't do anything about having noisy flatmates. And yes, believe me, they piss me off. So if we start it, the unit should be empty. So you're wondering, great, what do I do now? Basically, this is in step writing mode, so you individually tap each beat into the steps, and you can select where you want it. So, again, I'll teach you how to make Revolution 909's beat, which is a nice and easy starter beat. So if you press and hold Instrument Select, which is next to Shift, you will have a selection of instruments. You can choose the bass drum, snare drum, low tom, mid tom, high tom, rim shot, hand clap, closed hi-hat, open hi-hat, crash, ride. So select the bass drum. It should already be pre-selected, but in the case that it isn't, so we have a basic 4/4 going on. You can do that by laying them down on 1, 5, 9, and 13. But you'll notice that they're a bit quieter than they were in track play mode. This is because they're at half velocity. On the TR-09 you can tell this by the lights being dimmer than the light running across the sequencer. And on the TR-909 these lights will be blinking. So if you want full velocity, all you have to do is just tap them again. And that means that the sounds are louder. So you can sort of do this quickly by just double pressing each one. Next we want to press and hold Instrument Select, and then press 13, which selects our closed hi-hat. We're just going to use half velocity on this. Place it on 1, 2, 8, 9, 10, 14, and 16. Now we want to select our open hi-hat. You may be fooled into thinking that it's by selecting 14, but you actually have to select both 13 and 14 at the same time. Then we want to place them 2 steps away from the bass drum. So that would be 3, 7, 11, and 15. You're recognizing it already? If you haven't heard the song, then go listen to it. It's a great song, and there's some great messages behind it actually as well. Thomas Beltinger has a little bit of a documentary on Homework as an entire album, and it's worth a look, because it really goes into French rave culture. But anyway, now we want to select 12, which is our hand clap. So that's the basic pattern complete, but we can do one more thing to make it sound a little bit more realistic. All we have to do is press and hold shuffle/flam, which is above instrument select, and then we want to press anywhere from 1 to 7, 8 turns it off entirely, but you could also just use 1. 4 is about right for this, but you can hear that it's skipping a little, adding a bit of swing. Without, with. So you've coded your first pattern in your TR-09/909. Congratulations. So now it's just about having fun and figuring out what you want to do. In another tutorial, I may teach you how to use the TR-09/909 in tap writing mode. But as a basic idea, it's essentially tapping with the guide that the rim shot sets. If I turn this on and then turn everything down, you have the rim shot as a little guide and you can tap to it. But yeah. So there we have it. There's our little tutorial. Now it's just about you having fun and, enjoying playing this new fantastic instrument with a legendary history. And yeah. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.